Two young women take off their clothes and get ready to swim. But the moment they jump into the water, they realize in terror that a vicious dog is rushing toward them fast. With no time to think, the two quickly put their clothes back on and run desperately into the cabin. Unfortunately, Nikki, who was running behind, is bitten by the dog. At this critical moment, John quickly raises a bow and arrow and fires at the dog biting her. Seeing such a smooth motion, everyone thought he was a master archer. But the next second, the arrow veers off and lands squarely in Nikki's own leg. The intense pain makes her let out a heart-wrenching scream. And at that, the stunned dog beside her, seeing these people who would even strike their own, gets scared, turns around, and flees. The other dogs, who hadn't even attacked yet, are also frightened and run away in a panic. Back in the cabin, Nikki quickly takes a swig of strong liquor. Under the numbing effect of the alcohol, she lets them pull the arrow out of her leg. They had come to spend a weekend on this island, which the brothers John and Matt inherited from their recently deceased uncle. They never imagined that here there would be a pack of dogs genetically engineered to kill, bred at an abandoned training facility on the island. However, just as they were arguing about leaving as soon as possible, a dog suddenly crashes through the window and knocks one of them down. But right after, the dog turns its head and fixes its gaze on the delicate Sarah. At this moment of crisis, luckily a companion reacts fast and grabs the dog with both arms. Another quickly grabs a fire iron and, with one thrust, ends the dog's life. After witnessing this terrifying scene, everyone realizes the cabin is no longer safe. They grab their things and prepare to leave the island at once. But the moment they step out, they discover that the seaplane they arrived in has already drifted far away. The dogs chewed through the ropes holding it, precisely to force them out of the cabin. Seeing this, everyone runs to the water. Then John dives in headfirst, wanting to swim over and bring the plane back. But just as he's about to reach it, he notices vicious dogs on the wing. This frightening sight makes him swim back with all his might. Fortunately, he manages to reach the dock and is pulled back in time by his companions. With no time to think, they quickly run back and, in the very last second before the dogs catch up, take refuge inside the cabin. However, the plane drifts farther and farther away. They understand they may not be able to leave anytime soon, so they hurriedly reinforce all the doors and windows. But seeing that hiding isn't a solution either, someone suddenly remembers, the uncle had an old car parked in the garage next door. They didn't know if it could still start. If they could fix it, they could drive to the facility on the other side of the island and call for help. Thinking of this, they spring into action. Since the area around the cabin is full of dogs, one of them takes advantage of the animal's distraction and quietly reaches the door, removing the sliding rail from a zip line. Then they go up, wanting to use the cable to slide over to the garage on the other side. But fearing the cable wouldn't support the weight, this dangerous task ends up falling to Nikki. Wait, she had just injured her leg, so why is she the one doing the most dangerous thing? This is called cost minimization bias. In emergencies, people's decisions unconsciously lean toward the option of least loss. Nikki is lighter, so the cable won't snap. She's already injured, and one more wound or one fewer makes little difference. This isn't cold-bloodedness, it's the brain, in the midst of a rapid calculation, treating her injury as a sunk cost. However, the moment Nikki slides to the other side, several dogs spot her position and charge furiously. But luckily, at the critical moment, she manages to smash the window and slip into the locked garage. Yet after all that effort to sit in the car, she discovers it won't start. And just as she doesn't know what to do, more and more dogs pour into the garage. Nikki quickly opens the sunroof and climbs out of the car. Then, just before the dogs pounce on her, she climbs up onto a roof beam, finally escaping. At this moment, her companions on the other side tie a rope to a fishing line and, with the bow, launch the rope over to Nikki. Seeing the number of dogs only grow, she ties the rope around her body and, at the critical moment, is finally pulled back by her companions. Although they failed to start the car, at least no one's life was put in danger. Safely back inside, everyone thinks of a solution again. But just then, Noah, the one who knows where the fuse box is, goes down to the basement alone. But right after, the lights suddenly go out. And what's more terrifying, from the opening connecting the basement to the outside, there seemed to be a sound coming the whole time. He approaches trembling, flashlight in hand, and the next second, his companions, hearing the commotion, rush over to look, but as soon as they open the basement door, they discover in horror that Noah is already dead. Seeing that the dogs have charged up, they quickly shut the wooden door. Someone tries to block the entrance, but yet another dog hurls itself inside. Seeing more and more dogs, they run upstairs, wanting to climb to the attic, but the moment they lower the ladder, the dogs break through the line of defense. Luckily, the one in front gets kicked and is sent flying. But in the daze, another dog knocks one of them down. Seeing the situation, John tosses the bow to a companion and decisively rushes forward and shoves the dog, saving his friend. And so, with everyone working together, they manage to climb up to the attic and, in the very last second, pull up the wooden ladder, escaping the danger for now. The next day, hearing no more noise, they slowly walk down, wanting to start the car to flee. Luckily, there are no dogs nearby, and they manage to push the car out, wanting to use momentum to start it. But just then, a large pack charges over like mad. In the moment of crisis, one of them leaps onto the car roof and grabs the bow, ready to take on the dogs. But several appear in front of the car too, and some have already climbed onto it. John, at the wheel, yanks the steering wheel hard. Although he manages to throw the dogs off, he unfortunately also flings the bow out of his companion's hands. Seeing the number of dogs only grow, John makes a sharp turn and drives the car to the edge of a cliff, wanting to use the slope to build up speed and start the engine through momentum. Luckily, at the final instant, he manages to start the car and bring it to a stop. Then they turn around, wanting to go back to the cabin to rescue their companions. But just as one of them lowers his guard, a dog's head bursts through the window. He clamps down hard on its neck, and John, at the right moment, uses a utility pole to knock the dog away and save his friend. Then they stop the car at the door, wanting to grab their things and leave. But just at that moment, Sarah, paralyzed with fear, collapses to the ground and doesn't want to go. Ever since she was bitten, she had been developing a strange canine behavior, and now she simply gives up. She believes they'll never escape the dogs. No matter how they try to persuade her, she's dead set on staying. However, at this moment, a dog bursts into the room. One of them is pushed out the window and narrowly escapes. Sarah, on the other hand, ends up impaled along with the dog on a wooden post, and dies. But the survivors don't have time to feel grief. They get in the car, start the engine, and, flooring the accelerator, drive the vehicle straight into the water. The dogs can only watch helplessly as the three board a boat and slowly disappear from sight. The three survivors, thanks to a tenacious will to live, finally escape. However, just as one of them wants to go back to the boat's cabin to rest, he discovers that a dog was hiding there too. This is called the collapse of the illusion of safety. A good thriller, at the very instant the audience thinks everything is safe, reveals one last threat. Because true fear is in constant danger, but thinking you're safe and, in the end, not being. You thought they were saved? No. You thought the boat was the way out? There was a dog on the boat too. This island never had a real way out. And here the film ends. They ran desperately the entire movie, and in the end discovered that not even the boat was the way out.